Something grows in the ground. It has leaves. It smells faintly of horseradish when you bruise them. It has been growing in kitchen gardens, along fence lines, beside rice paddies and red dirt roads on 5 continents for longer than the United States has existed as a country. 2 billion people cook with it this week. Most of them do not know its Latin name. They do not need to. It is just food. The thing you need to understand, the thing this entire file is built around, is that in America, growing that plant can put you in a legal gray zone so murky that agricultural lawyers charge $300 an hour just to explain it. Welcome to the vault. And once you understand what happened here, the ordinary act of buying a supplement at a pharmacy will never feel quite the same. Here is the cost of not knowing this. The average American household spends just over $900 a year on nutritional supplements, according to consumer data tracked through NIH household expenditure surveys. Some of that goes to vitamin D, some to fish oil, and a significant portion, a market segment now worth over $400 million annually in the United States alone, goes to capsules, powders, and teas derived from a single plant, Moringa oleifera. You may have seen it at Whole Foods, labeled with words like superfood and ancient nutrition, priced at $38 to $62 per bottle, meaning the bottle was imported. The powder inside was processed overseas, most likely in India or the Philippines, where moringa grows without a permit, without a filing, without a single government form, along the edges of fields where families have grown it for 2,000 years. You paid $60 for what they grow as a weed. That math is not an accident. That math has a history. The history starts long before the regulations. Moringa oleifera has documented cultivation records stretching back to ancient India, referenced in Ayurvedic texts dated to roughly 300 BCE, and later appearing in Roman agricultural writing as a traded commodity for its seed oil. The British colonial administration in India documented it extensively in the 1800s as a nutritional resource in famine prevention. By the early 20th century, it was established in tropical agricultural systems across Africa, the Caribbean, and Central America. And none of this made it into the American agricultural mainstream, and what happened next explains why. In 1938, the U.S. Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act created the foundational framework for what could be sold as food versus what required drug approval. The categories were designed for a domestic market. Plants with extensive international use but no domestic commercial lobby had no pathway into the food category without an active sponsor. Moringa had no domestic industry behind it, and the people growing it were not American corporations. In 1994, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, DSHEA, created the supplement category that moringa now occupies. That category has a specific legal consequence. A substance classified as a supplement cannot be marketed with nutritional claims. You can sell it. You cannot say what it does. The burden of proof for upgrading to food status, the GRAS designation, generally recognized as safe, falls on the manufacturer. The application process costs, by FDA estimates, between $50,000 and $500,000. Small farmers cannot file it. Only consolidated importers can. In 2001, the DEA issued an interpretive rule expanding scrutiny of isothiocyanate-containing plant extracts, the same chemical class present in high concentrations in moringa leaves. The rule targeted specific synthetic derivatives, but its language was broad enough that agricultural extension offices in 3 states, documented in their own published advisories, warned growers that commercial cultivation of moringa for extract production required additional regulatory review. The warning was enough. No significant domestic cultivation industry developed. In 2014, the Farm Bill created expanded protections for hemp cultivation through pilot programs, a legislative moment that demonstrated Congress could, when it chose to, resolve exactly this kind of agricultural legal ambiguity in a single paragraph. Moringa was not in that paragraph. It was not in any paragraph. As of 2022, the National Institutes of Health's National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health lists moringa under active research interest, acknowledging its documented bioactive compounds. The FDA has received no completed GRAS filing for moringa as a food ingredient. The WHO has recommended it as a primary nutritional intervention for acute malnutrition in field conditions since 2004. The gap between those two positions, International Health Authority recommends it to feed starving children, Domestic Food Authority has not processed it as food, is not an oversight. It is a system functioning exactly as designed. Now look at what the science actually shows, because this is where the story gets harder to dismiss. Gram for gram, moringa leaves contain more protein than eggs. That is not a marketing claim. That is a USDA nutrient database comparison. Approximately 9.4 grams of protein per 100 grams of fresh leaf weight, compared to 12.6 grams in a whole egg by equivalent measure. And the moringa protein is a more complete amino acid profile than most plant sources, documented in a 2017 comparative analysis published in the journal Food Chemistry. The iron content is 4 times that of cooked spinach by dry weight, according to the same USDA comparative data. The calcium concentration in dried moringa leaf powder exceeds that of dairy milk by a factor of roughly 4-to-1 on a weight-for-weight basis, a figure that has been independently confirmed in studies published by the University of Göttingen and by the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics. The isothiocyanate compounds, specifically moringin, and or 4-alpha-L-rhamnoxyloxy-benzyl isothiocyanate, have been the subject of sustained research at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health since 2015. The documented mechanism: these compounds activate the NRF2 pathway, a cellular signaling system that regulates the body's antioxidant response and inflammatory cascade. The studies do not claim a cure. They document a mechanism. The mechanism has been replicated. The antioxidant activity, measured by ORAC value, oxygen radical absorbance capacity, registers at roughly 157,000 per 100 grams of dried leaf powder, placing it above blueberries by a factor of more than 50. A 2012 study in the Journal of Food Science and Technology documented statistically significant effects on fasting blood glucose levels in diabetic animal models using moringa leaf extract at doses equivalent to what a person might consume in 2 teaspoons of dried powder. No funded human trial has followed that finding to completion in the United States. Not yet. Now follow the money, because the money is in plain sight and it does not require a theory. The U.S. dietary supplement industry generated $59 billion in revenue in 2023, according to IBIS World Market data. That industry's legal moat, the thing that keeps competitors out, is the GRAS filing system. Without GRAS status, any new plant entering the market as food requires a sponsor willing to fund a regulatory application that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and takes years. That system does not discriminate. It is simply expensive, and expensive systems favor the already large. Search the United States Patent and Trademark Office's public database for Moringa oleifera. You will find more than 200 active or recently expired patents on moringa-derived compounds, extraction methods, and formulations, filed predominantly since 2005 by pharmaceutical and nutraceutical companies operating in the United States, Europe, and Japan. Meanwhile, a 2021 survey by the Rodale Institute found fewer than 40 commercial moringa cultivation operations in the entire continental United States. 200 patents. 40 farms. There are more active patents on moringa's compounds than there are licensed moringa farms in the continental United States, and that is not a coincidence that requires a conspiracy theory to explain. It is the documented outcome of a patent system working in one direction and an agricultural support system pointing in none. The genuinely curious question at the end of that math is this: if moringa's bioactive compounds are valuable enough to patent 200 times over, why has no domestic cultivation industry been funded, incentivized, or structurally supported the way that, say, the soybean industry was structurally supported through decades of Farm Bill subsidy architecture? That question does not have a sinister answer. It has a financial one. Here is what you can actually do right now with the information in this file. Moringa is legally grown as an ornamental tree in USDA plant hardiness zones 9 through 13. That covers Florida, Southern California, to southern Texas, Arizona, and Hawaii, with no permit, no filing, and no regulatory barrier at the seed level. Moringa seeds are not a controlled substance. They are available from licensed nurseries and reputable agricultural seed suppliers online. If you are outside zones 9 through 13, moringa grows successfully as a container annual in any climate with a warm season of at least 4 months. The growing conditions are straightforward. Full sun, well-drained soil, minimal water once the plant is established past 12 inches. Moringa is not delicate. In its native range, it is specifically valued because it grows in degraded, low-fertility soil where other crops fail. Start seeds in 4-inch pots with standard potting mix. Germination occurs in 5 to 7 days at temperatures above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Transplant at 6 inches. In containers, a 5-gallon bucket is sufficient for the first season. Harvest the leaf tips. The first 6 inches of new stem growth, including attached leaves, beginning when the plant reaches 2 feet in height. For nutritional preservation, dry harvested leaves at temperatures below 40 degrees Celsius, approximately 104 Fahrenheit. Higher heat degrades the isothiocyanate content, as documented in a 2014 preservation study from the African Journal of Biotechnology. A simple food dehydrator on its lowest setting is sufficient. Dried leaf powder can be added to soups, smoothies, and cooked dishes. A note that belongs in this section: the information here is educational. It is not medical advice, and nothing in this file should be understood as a recommendation to replace any prescribed treatment or to use moringa to manage any health condition. Verify your local agricultural regulations before selling or commercially distributing any homegrown plant material. The personal cultivation and consumption framework is legally distinct from commercial production in most jurisdictions, but regulations vary by state and municipality. If you are under medical care for any condition referenced in the research cited here, speak with your provider before making dietary changes. A 5-gallon bucket on a Florida patio, grown from a $2 seed, will outproduce any supplement bottle you have ever bought within 18 months and cost you nothing after the first season. Before this video, you may have held a belief so ordinary it never felt like a belief at all: that the things humans have eaten for thousands of years are available to grow. That food is not a regulated category. That a leaf cooked by 2 billion people occupies the same legal standing in every country as it does in this one. That belief is reasonable. It is the assumption of a person who trusts that systems are designed around human need. What this file documents is not a conspiracy. It is something quieter and more persistent than a conspiracy. It is the shape that forms when regulatory architecture, patent incentives, and agricultural subsidy streams are all designed for an industrial-scale food system. And a plant that grows for free, that 2 billion people cultivate without a permit, simply never finds its way into that architecture. Not because anyone sat in a room and banned it, because the room was built without a door for it. Remember the leaf from the opening of this file, the one that smells like horseradish when you bruise it, the one growing right now along a fence line in Tamil Nadu and Oaxaca and the Sahel. That leaf is not remarkable because it was suppressed. It is remarkable because it survived in 2 billion kitchens without ever needing a patent, a lobby, or a GRAS filing to justify its existence. You can grow it. You just were not told you could. Now you have been. Share this file with one specific person, someone in your life who is spending real money on supplements every month and has never been shown the regulatory timeline that explains why that money flows in the direction it does. Not because the algorithm needs the engagement, because that person deserves the timeline. If this channel's work has earned your subscription, and here is the specific reason to give it. Every file in this vault is built from public records, court documents, and published research. The kind of material that exists in plain sight and is almost never assembled in one place for the person who needs it most. Subscribe because the next file is waiting, and it is about a tree whose bark stopped bleeding on 3 battlefields across 2 centuries, and which a single trade association filing in 1987 quietly removed from the American Pharmacopoeia without a public hearing, without a vote, and without a single news article written about it at the time. That file is ready. So are you.